Starfox Adventures. This is one of the many GameCube titles that I grew up with, but I don't really consider this game a quote-unquote Starfox game either. This is actually the only Starfox game I've ever played. But as I said, this isn't really a Starfox game. It's way more related to The Legend of Zelda. But I'll talk more about that later. So, is Starfox Adventures a good game, and is it hard to complete? Let's find out. When you start the game, you're actually playing as a vixen called Crystal. She is searching for the source of a distress signal. This leads her to the protagonist of the game, General Scales, and he is trying to get control over Dinosaur Planet. Crystal tries to be a hero but fails severely. She then makes her way to Krasoa Palace. No, that's not okay. Okay, so they tried to give all of the inhabitants this ancient language, but whenever they mention an area, they just throw in the English name for it. This is not okay, and it sounds really weird. Anyway, Crystal finds out that to get an edge over General Scales, she needs the power of the Krasoa spirits. After releasing the first Krasoa spirits, something attacks her and she gets trapped inside this crystal. Meanwhile, Starfox and his crew is just relaxing when they get a mission from General Pepper.
As you will see, chunks of the planet have been torn from its surface. It's your job to get them back.
In order to achieve this, Fox will have to get the remaining Krasoa spirits and get them back to the Krasoa Palace. And he'll also have to get the 4 spellstones and place them at the Force Point temples, because...
This temple has been built on a force point. A point where pure magical energy is forced up from within the core of the planet. This energy is so powerful that it continually attempts to break the planet apart. To stop this, the ancient Krasoa placed 2 spellstones inside the temple to absorb the energy.
So the game is all about getting the spellstones and the Krasoa spirits and just get them back where they belong. The 4 spellstones are on the 4 chunks of the planet that has been torn apart from its surface. In most Starfox games, you're just spending all of your time riding the Arwing, but in this game, you're barely using it at all. To be honest, I don't really like the Arwing sections. I think the reason why I don't really like the Arwing sections is because there's no variety in the areas when you're riding the Arwing. The only times you do control the Arwing is when you're going to the islands around the planet or to the planet itself. Right after you first land on the planet, you're ready to begin your adventure.
Great flying, Fox! For a moment I thought you weren't gonna make it.
Very funny, sir.
I know.
Okay, this game got super dry humor, but I love it. After reaching the surface, you find Crystal's staff that she lost at the beginning of the game. This staff is the only weapon you get throughout the entire game. And can I just say that the combat in this game is complete garbage. There's also a really low variety of different enemy types, which makes the combat even worse. Most of the time you're just running right past enemies because you don't want to spend time dealing with them because it's repetitive, boring, and it takes a long time. The first mission you get when you arrive at the planet is to save the Prince of the Earthwalkers, Tricky. Throughout the game he'll help you dig things and burn things. That's it. And he needs to be fed these blue mushrooms in order to do certain actions. And also, the dialogue between the characters are really bad. Most of the time, people are just telling you exactly what to do, so character development doesn't exist in this game.
To find the spellstone.
You can't be serious! I just saved this guy from prison and then he just tells me what to do, come on! This is probably the worst dialogue I have ever seen in a video game. But not all of the dialogues are really that bad though.
Whoa! A Cloud Runner! Shoo shoo! Go away, Cloud Runner! Get away!
Have you two met?
He is an Earthwalker. I am a Cloud Runner. Our tribes do not see eye to eye. His father has probably been saying bad things about me.
I think the game really needs more of these kinds of dialogues. Okay, that's enough complaining, let's look at the good parts of this game. We can start with the presentation. This game is beautiful for a GameCube title. The environment and the models are really well detailed. This game also have a lot of variety in the environments. From the desert in Dragon Rock and to the beautiful Cape Claw. My favorite area has to be the Ocean Force Point Temple. The clever puzzles, the beautiful water pillars and the music. I could listen to this song all day. Another thing I really liked about this game is the different playstyles on the 4 islands around Dinosaur Planet. Dark Ice Mines being a rescue mission, Cloud Runner Fortress being a stealth mission, the Walled City being heavily emphasized around puzzles, and Dragon Rock being... Another thing I really enjoyed was the boss fights. For example, the first boss is very unique. Here I am shooting him in the butt a few times and then... I want this to happen way more in video games. And then we have the third boss, which is actually really freaking scary. The part that is scary is that you don't really know exactly where he is, so he might be approaching you from behind when you don't know it. But back to the cons of the game, the difficulty curve, it doesn't exist, it just have a few spikes. Especially one of the hard parts in this game is very hard. Like, it's freaking unforgiving for new players. If you play this game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The third Krazoa spirit. About halfway through the game you get kidnapped by the Lightfoots. After being kidnapped, they are trying to kill you, so you have to play this little minigame. The game is pretty basic. Press the A button when the red line is over the green area. It's pretty hard later on, because they get smaller and smaller, like the green area, so it gets harder and harder to time. And then you're free to go, but there is a Krazoa spirit there, so you have to do 2 tests in order to get access to the Krazoa shrine. The first one is the tracking test. In this one you're supposed to activate 4 totem poles within a time limit. The second test is the test of strength. This guy sure seems kinda simple, right? So in this test you're supposed to... And after that you finally get access to the third Krazoa shrine. This is where the hard part begins. First of all, you have to go through 3 rooms with a lot of hazards. After that you can finally attempt the test of fear. This is very similar to the first minigame when a Lightfoot first kidnapped you. The difference being that you actually have the control over this red line and you just have to keep it inside the green area. This test requires a lot of concentration because the line will jump randomly left and right and you have to keep it inside the green area at all times. And if you fail, you have to go through the 3 rooms with all of those hazards again to get to 1 more attempt. And when you make it back there and try again and then fail, then just give up on life. If you're interested in getting this game, be ready to spend a lot of time on the test of fear. One thing I completely forgot to talk about. The puzzles. Some puzzles in this game is really simple, but the more clever ones are really hard to figure out. Especially when you're going back to the walled city for the 5th Krazoa spirit. In order to get access to the 5th Krazoa shrine, you have to get the sun and moon stones and place them beneath the temple. My favorite one has to be the invisible maze. Here you're in the middle of a maze and you have to find your way out. The thing is that all of the walls are invisible. If it is your first time playing, you're not going to get out on the first attempt. And also, the actual Krazoa test is also really fun. It is the test of knowledge, and you're supposed to put items where they belong. For example, a moon seed belongs in the Moon Mountain Pass, and an asteroid belongs in space. When you've delivered the 5th Krasoa spirit, there is actually one left, and that one is already at the Krasoa Palace. This is where you actually get to confront General Scales. You do actually confront him at the Cloud Runner Fortress, but only for like 5 seconds. But when you actually start fighting General Scales, this happens.
Now give Fox what he's looking for. Give him the final Krasoa spirit.
You will regret this.
And now everything is fine and dandy. You release the final Krasoa spirit, you rescue Crystal, but this causes Andros to be reborn. So then you're ready for the final boss of the game, Andros. And this is also the only boss fight where you're actually using the Arwing. But one thing though, the Krasoa face, it has given me nightmares when I was a kid. It sure is a terrifying sight. In the middle of the boss fight, Falco comes out of nowhere and rejoins the Starfox team. I really like this final boss fight. I think it is a really good ending to this game. When you have defeated Andros, Crystal actually joins the Starfox team.
Okay. I mean, sure, no problem.
You're not shy, are you, Fox?
My sensors indicate Fox's temperature is rising. Are you okay, Fox?
Oh my god, I feel so bad for him. So, how do you complete this game 100%? It is actually very easy. The only optional stuff you have to get is to buy all of the items in the shop. You'll also have to get all of the upgrades for your staff, which is really easy considering that there's only 3 optional staff upgrades. So all in all, this is probably the easiest game to complete ever. But is this game any good? This game is really good, even though it has a lot of problems that could have been improved on. One thing I really haven't talked about is how linear this game is. The player has virtually no freedom throughout the whole game, but it is linear in a good way. I actually really like linear games when I really think about it. But I know that a lot of people really like freedom, so that is kinda dragging on the rating of this game. Even though a lot of the dialogue also is really bad, it doesn't really ruin the experience all too much. And the puzzles is definitely where this game shines the most. So all in all, I'm going to give this game a 7 out of 10. The beautiful graphics, the awesome soundtrack, the clever puzzles and the great bosses all add up to a really great game. The only thing that keeps this game back from getting a higher rating is the difficulty spikes, the really bad dialogue, and of course, the linearity of the game. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm sorry that I haven't uploaded any reviews up until now. I have been kinda stressed out lately and I just haven't had the motivation to do it. But I will work more on my YouTube channel next. The next video is going to be a top 10, so I hope you're all excited for that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.